Ever rebuild your life and your business at the same time? Today, Lynn Power shows us how to build resilience, clean beauty, and sharp leadership, and how you can turn that adversity into momentum. So stay tuned for her 5 moves that you could use this week to better yourself and your life. Now, welcome back to The Advisor with Stacey Chillemi, where insight becomes action. If you're a founder, a leader, or a creator, you're going to love this show. We're breaking down resilience, leadership, entrepreneurship, and clean beauty with Lynn Power. And you'll lead with 5 concrete actions. Lynn is a clean performance driven hair care brand, and and former CEO of J. Walter Thompson in New York. Lynn, welcome to the show. Now, can you just take a moment to say hello to everybody and tell everybody a little about who you are and what MASAMI stands for?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. So, yes, as you said, I am Lynn Power, and I actually was a longtime ad executive for almost 30 years. That was my career. And I had worked my way up to be the CEO of a large global ad agency, but you know what? It's not all what it's cut out to be. I was
Mm.
spending my days dealing with, let's see, lawsuits, finance meetings, HR issues. I could go on, but needless to say, I was not enjoying it. It wasn't why I got into the business. I love to use creativity as a business tool, but you can't do that much creativity in finance, right?
Right.
And
Yeah,
get in
it's true.
trouble. So, yeah, so anyway, 2018 I kind of just hit the ceiling of where I felt I could go. I already had been a CEO. There was really nothing I felt like I wanted to accomplish in advertising, so I decided to leave. I actually started doing some consulting for small businesses because I loved making an immediate impact.
Hmm.
It's like I was
Yeah.
working with big global clients where you would have meetings and discuss things, and it would take a year and a half to see them in action. These
Yeah.
days, I'm sorry, but a year and a half, it's irrelevant. Whatever you were planning is throw it out the window. Because now we're on it used to be 5-year plans, and then it was 5-month plans and 5-week plans, and now it's like maybe 5-day plans if we're lucky. So yeah, basically I was doing consulting, and then I met my co-founder James, who had been
Mhm.
working on hair care formulations for almost a decade. And I had worked on a lot of beauty brands in my career. I actually did all of L'Oreal's hair care products.
Wow.
So I love the beauty industry. It's very right brain, left brain,
Hmm.
which is kind of interesting for me. And anyway, I was highly skeptical that he had anything good because
Hmm.
it's very difficult to make really good hair care products that are clean.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, I was shocked that he had worked on these formulations and they were actually quite outstanding. So we decided to launch a brand together. We ended up naming our brand Masami after, well, 2 reasons. One is that it means truly beautiful in Japanese. This
Ah.
Right, nice. But the second is it's really named after James's husband, Masahiro, who was from Japan and who found us our hero ingredient, macabu, that grows in Northeast Japan where he grew up. So
Wow.
that was sort of the start. Now we had to do quite a bit of cleaning up our formulas and tweaking and consumer testing and all that before we launched. And we launched at New York Fashion Week in February of 2020, a month before COVID.
Wow. Oh,
That's
wow.
our first pivot before we even got going.
That's a real triumph, yeah. Well,
But
yeah.
we are talking resilience, so it really
Yes.
kind of fits.
So
Yes.
during your health journey, what belief did you retire and what belief did you adopt?
Oh my gosh. Well, there's so many things. I would say that I retired the idea of planning things out. I'm a type A person by nature,
Hmm.
and You can't be as an entrepreneur. So you have to adopt this leaning into change mindset,
Yeah.
and pivoting. And that is, like I said, I'm used to planning things out, doing things in campaign timelines and having things.
Yeah.
And when the world throws things at you, you just don't have a choice. And when it's your own business, you have to learn to pivot. So I've become much more acclimated
Yeah.
to like whatever what it doesn't phase me anymore. It definitely did the first year because I had to throw out the business plan, and but
Yeah.
now it's like, and it's been an onslaught of, as we were talking before, yes, COVID, that was a thing. Couldn't get into retail, that was a thing. Then it was like all the digital advertising costs went through the roof. Now
Yeah.
it's tariffs. So there's always something that you're dealing with that is really outside of your control.
Yeah.
So the more you can wrap your head around that and realize like you kind of just have to lean into the ride, as
Yeah.
uncomfortable as it may be, that's gonna help.
What was one of the things that you did to help you? Because like I'm married to a type A person and I know so many type A people and it is very hard for them because they plan out everything to a T. Some of them are so bad that they plan it out every second, every minute is calculated in their head of how they're going to construct their business, what they're going to do at this time, what they're doing at this time, what they expect to do in a month. How did you reframe the what your mindset? Because that's big. Because not, it's easy to say, but to reconstruct who you are is not easy. How did you do it?
No, especially, I'm 58, it's like I've been doing this a long time. So it isn't that easy to just kind of,
Yeah.
think the way you've been doing things. I will say, and this is not an answer that you're going to want to hear or your audience is going to want to hear, but it was cancer. Because what happened was a year after I launched, I was diagnosed with a very rare aggressive stage 3 breast cancer.
Wow.
So I had to go through a year of treatment. And there is nothing as humbling, but also as empowering as dealing with that because you are not in control
Yeah.
at all.
Yes.
And it's interesting because a lot of people would say to me, "Oh, you're so strong," and I'm like, you know what? I don't believe, having gone through it, that is really has anything to do with it. I know some people do, and great that they do, but so much of it has to do with the type of cancer, when it was caught,
Yes.
what drugs you get, how your
Yeah.
body responds to it, and all that. And I was very lucky because my type of cancer does not typically respond well to chemo, but mine did.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and the point being, I used the time when I was going through that. I had very long, like 6-hour chemo sessions, and there's no Wi-Fi in these hospitals. They're so like backwards in some ways, right?
Yeah.
And so I had to reflect, which is very uncomfortable. Like I'm not used to being in my thoughts without like my phone right there to do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I really started thinking about my priorities
Yeah.
and how to think about where I wanted to spend my time, like bigger things, not just the business, but like how do I want to actually spend the next few years, 10 years, 20 years if I'm lucky, like how to make it work. And that really made me realize the business, as much as I love it and I need to be busy and I love being busy and I love the beauty business and I love working with other founders, it really is secondary to everything else. And once you put it in its place, then it's a lot easier to not get so phased by all the things that are hitting you from the business left and right, because you kind of have now a sort of a more, I don't know, accurate representation of what it is in your life.
Yeah.
Because, people say, you've heard this, when you're on your deathbed, are you going to be like, oh, I wish I sent those emails faster? Like, no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just doesn't really matter. And so yeah, when you're forced to think about those things, that's kind of um beneficial. So not that I wish cancer on anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But look, you can replicate those lessons through meditation, through giving yourself some forced breaks, which I highly recommend. You got to
Yes.
get off the hamster wheel and you got to kind of force yourself, go on the vacation that you've always wanted to. Don't put it off and say next year, next year, next year.
Yeah.
Just do it. There's no
Right.
time like today.
That's so true. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't wake up until something major happens in their life. And I know so many people that have gone through cancer and not just cancer, but any major illness. You wake up and you start to see things through a different pair of eyes, and you realize that, like you
Yeah.
said, these emails aren't so important anymore. You realize that, making money and doing this and doing that, or that watch you wanted to get isn't so important anymore. We can't take it with us. What matters is the people around us, and what matters is joy and love and care and gratitude, and maybe walking outside and you can feel the grass on your feet, and little things like that that we never even thought about before, as people who are just trying to make a business flow and be successful. Sometimes we have to really have gratitude for the little things, because we don't realize, we expect to be here a very long time. We expect this, we expect that, but you never know when the next day may bring. So you really have to focus on the present. And, what you said is so true. And it does any illness and cancer, especially, just hearing the C word, and you were in an aggressive form in stage 3. So I can't even imagine how scary that was. That changes your life. That changes your whole viewpoint on how you look at life and how you want to live the rest of your life. So that definitely can change anybody. And I'm glad that, it made you, I wish you didn't have to go through that, but I'm glad that now that you see life in a different manner, that you're able to view life in a more fulfilling way, let's say. Now, where did your support system make the biggest difference?
So I would say, obviously, my family for sure. I mean, my son opted to not go back to in-person school because he was in college. He
Hmm.
actually went to Indiana where I went, and he did not enjoy it, which I still don't understand, but that's a whole topic for another podcast. Um, but he ended up just deciding because it was COVID and they, sent everyone home and he just stayed home, which was very helpful for me. And, he would cook dinners and just help out with stuff and drive me to appointments and things. I mean, obviously my husband did that too, but
Yeah,
having him around was great. And then my daughter, same, very, very good. And now she lives with us. My daughter and her boyfriend live with us. And some people say, "Oh my God, how can you do that?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me? It's great. I'm gonna, when
yeah.
they move out, I'm gonna be bummed." But in addition to that, I ended up founding the Power Beauty Collab, which was called the Conscious Beauty Collective at the time when I was finishing my treatment, which was and is. We had to change the name because Ulta sent me a cease and desist. They wanted
Hmm.
to own Conscious Beauty, fine. No one knows what it means anyway, so have at it, Ulta. But anyway, so I did that because as a small business, when I launched and dealt with all that, it's so difficult to deal with all these things coming at you. And they can be big things like, oh my God, you got a lawsuit, or they can be small things like you don't know how to set up your Amazon page or your Instagram account or whatever.
Yeah,
And so the idea of founders coming together to help and support each other and help each other grow is really what I wanted to do. And I get a lot of energy from the other founders, and I really enjoy that. So that was part of what gives me joy, is working with other founders and helping them and hopefully helping them be successful and helping small business because we're all small, we're all indie brands, and
yeah.
it's easy to forget that small business once was the lifeblood of our economy. I don't
Yeah.
know if it is so much anymore, but a lot of small businesses do a lot of good things for the community. We all give back. I mean,
Yeah.
we're all trying to create products that are good for you, good for the environment, sustainably minded, and if you don't watch what's happening around you, you may not notice how many of the big chains are just taking over. So many
Yes.
small boutiques have gone out of business.
Yes.
Now you go into Ulta, Sephora, and they're basically the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a few different brands, but they've become very homogenized.
Yes, they have.
You think about our food options, my God, when I'm traveling, it's like you've got TGI Fridays, you've got, Longhorn Steakhouse, I mean, there are just like,
Yeah.
so anyway, not that there's anything wrong with those places. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying that, supporting businesses where you'll see a more direct line of community benefit.
Yes.
I think if anyone had a choice, you would pick that.
Oh, I would. I always enjoyed going to small businesses, whether it was to buy clothes in a small boutique or it was to go to dinner in a small little trattoria, and just a small
Yeah,
little family-owned restaurant. You were treated differently. The product or the food was different. You were helping, your community, and people were happy. They had the ability to work in places where there was a reason to, a lot of times people, the best times and the best businesses is when there's a purpose, when it's meaningful, and people feel like what they're contributing means something. And that's what really makes our economy flow is when you go to work and you're participating and you know that you're doing something good and you're not just helping yourself, but you're helping the team, you're helping the community become better. That's when people get excited. But when you start getting overwhelmed with these big corporations taking over everything and you see mergers left and right, you know,
yeah.
it's it kind of it kind of defeats what we're all about. And I think it also people become more discouraged and less encouraged to want to, make something better. It's kind of, I think it kind of pulls people down a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's hard to have a small business. But to your point, it's getting harder, not
Mhm.
easier. I mean, it was easier 10 years ago, maybe, or even 5 years ago. You could launch a business, and there are a lot of, I mean, from the technology perspective, it's easier. There's a lot of
Yeah,
tools. You know what I mean? Like, I do so much tech stuff now, and I was never a tech person when I worked in advertising, but now I can, like, I built my website, I did all the Amazon listings, but because you can. But
yeah,
um, but on the flip side, so many of the policies and the compliance aspect for small businesses is crushing. And
yes,
that's what people they don't realize. And then, of course, the big brands have so much more money and they have zero interest in the beauty space. I'm going to talk not about other industries, but in beauty, they just have no interest in educating the consumer about what clean means and why. People
yes,
kind of know it's good, but they don't really understand why,
yeah,
because those big brands are the ones that have sulfates, parabens, and phthalates. And
yeah,
about 90%, at least in hair care and probably in skincare too, of the products in the US still have that stuff in them. Now,
oh
I'm
yeah,
sitting here in Italy, the EU doesn't allow any of that. It's crazy how much more sophisticated in beauty the EU is versus the US. So the
yeah,
EU, for perspective, bans about 1,300 ingredients
yeah,
in beauty. The US bans, depending on what state you're in, anywhere from 11 to about 20.
yeah.
That's
I,
it. I
you know,
mean, it's crazy.
it's crazy because when I went to Europe, it was half, you know, so many of the products were banned, and you didn't see those products in any of the stores. You didn't see, how even if you went into grocery stores, if you went into beauty stores, if you went into anywhere, most of the American products were banned, and it was very, very, very upsetting because you think about it. These are all the products that we're putting into our bodies, and we wonder why cancer is up. There is a lot of chemicals that they put in a lot of these products, to keep them their freshness longer, and to be able to utilize them on the shelf, so so they're still usable and they don't dry out, or and then, but what happens is all these, we don't even have to, I don't think, list all the ingredients in the back of the in the ingredients list. As long as we have specific amount, it's okay. And so people don't even realize what they're putting into their body. And what blows me away is that when you're using, beauty products, even hair products, you're putting it into your scalp. And as soon as it goes into your scalp, it goes into your bloodstream. And once it goes into your bloodstream, it's affecting all different parts of your body. And if you're putting toxic chemicals into your body, you're basically opening yourself to cancer and many other diseases, because that's the different dyes they use, the different preservatives to keep them, longer on the shelves. All these things go into your body, and they start to go into different. If your body doesn't know what it is, it stores it. So if it stores it in your body, how long how many toxins build up before an illness or a disease occurs? And then, they've even tied ADHD and all these different, everyone nowadays that go to school, you hear all these kids with all these terrible allergic reactions to everything, and a lot of it has to do with the chemicals we put into our products. That's what's killing us is the chemicals. So we need to be clean. We need to have clean products, like the products that you're selling. But the problem is that it's not easy, and sometimes the prices are a little bit more, and then people go with the cheaper brand, or they don't realize how toxic the brand is, because the marketing on the label is so falsified.
Misleading. Yeah.
Yeah, very misleading.
Yeah, all those are very true and very good points. And I think your point about the shampoo is good, because a lot of people say to me, well, but you just wash it off. What's the big deal? It's like, no, you're scrubbing it into your scalp. And if you're using a shampoo with sulfates, which most of the shampoo at your supermarket has, that's detergent. That's like putting Tide on your head and scrubbing
Yeah,
it in. And your scalp is one of the most absorbent parts of your body. So it is a problem. And, beyond just allergic reactions, you can, have obviously as extreme as cancer, but these things can really disrupt your endocrine system in a very bad way, with changing your hormone levels and doing things that will, really make a lot of people just sick, feel awful. So yeah, it's really important to really understand what we're putting in and on our bodies, and start before, I didn't start doing this until I was in my 50s. So I had
yeah,
already, because we didn't know, I worked on a lot of products. I sometimes say that my clean beauty journey now is like a karmic reboot for my bad, behavior back then, meaning I worked on a lot of products and helped sell a lot of products that are not good for you.
right.
We didn't know. I mean, in my defense, I didn't know.
Yeah,
Maybe the manufacturer did know, but we didn't really understand why that stuff was bad, or if it even was bad. And so, we're getting people to buy more stuff, which they don't need. And even things like having to shampoo your hair twice, that's really a fallacy. That was a marketing invention,
yes,
don't really
yes,
need to do that. Like, so there's things that we've been ingrained, getting squeaky clean. There was a commercial when I was a kid. I think it was Brex. and it was squeaky clean. That's
Yeah.
actually bad. That means you're stripping all the oil from your hair. And then
Yeah.
what happens is your scalp compensates, makes more oil, then your hair feels greasy, then you have to wash it again. So this is
Yeah.
creating a cycle for people and they don't even realize it. And it's
I
just consumption. It's just a consumption game, you know?
Oh yeah, so many of the myths that we have adopted into our lifestyle is because of a lot of these commercials. Like even with shampoo, you don't, most people don't even, if you, the people who have healthy hair don't even shampoo their hair maybe once a month, maybe every couple of
Right.
weeks, depending on how much oil they're actually accumulating. You can just do that by putting your hand through your hair and feeling your hair, and you'll notice on your fingers how much oil is on your hair. And when your hair gets to the point where it's too oily or you could start to see it on your hair, that's when you're really supposed to shampoo your hair. You can condition your hair more often, but they tell you not to shampoo your hair because you're stripping the oils out of your hair. And I would notice before I became so conscious of all the products I use, I noticed that when I would use certain products that had reputable names, they were actually hurting my scalp. They were either drying my scalp out. They were making my hair brittle. My hair started breaking more with certain hair products that I was using. And they had, these companies were and they still are, they're very well known. They do really well in the
Yeah.
US, but everybody reacts differently, but your hair shouldn't become brittle when you use a certain hair product or a shampoo or a conditioner. Your hair shouldn't get, dried out, or your scalp shouldn't start itching and drying out because of a hair product that you're using or a shampoo or a conditioner that you're using, especially.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, why are your products so different than other products? What makes your products unique?
Well, we wanted to solve hydration, which is the root of most hair issues, and it's the number one kind of unmet need. The problem is that the big brands, and again, I was part of this, so it's like guilty as charged, but they force you to choose. Have you ever stood in front of that shampoo, the hair care aisle, and just been like, I don't know, because I want volume, I want hydration, I want strength, I want shine, I want color treated, color
Yes,
safe. How do I choose, right? So we wanted to solve everything,
right.
um, but really get to the root of most people's hair issues, which is hydration. That is,
Mhm.
when people's hair is dry, brittle, unmanageable, frizzy, it's dull. It's usually
Yeah.
because it's not well hydrated.
Hmm.
Now a lot of people are getting like things like keratin treatments. Well, the problem with that is it coats your hair strands, your follicles, and then the products can't get in there to actually do the job to hydrate. So they're actually not great for your hair.
Yeah.
So we wanted to do that, and this is the hard part though. Doing hydration is not the hard part. Doing weightless hydration is the hard part because I have very thin hair. And if my hair, okay, before I had cancer, I had long, long hair.
Hmm.
But if I wore it down, it would just be flat.
Right.
Um, Even now, like if I didn't have my product in my hair, it would just be,
Hmm.
and um, I did not want to have solve hydration, but leave you with hair that looks greasy,
Yeah.
limp, flat, because then it creates that cycle again. So
Yes.
we wanted to give people volume and hydration. So that was what took a really long time to figure out. And our secret sauce is called macabu. It's a Japanese seaweed that grows in Northeast Japan, thanks to Masa, who is my
Hmm.
co-founder's husband. And we put it into our products as a powder form, and that allows us to just like cram a lot of active ingredient in there, and it basically acts like a sponge to bring the hydration to your hair. Most people say they notice a change immediately. Like
Wow.
it's not a product that you have to use for 3 weeks to see a difference. It's you can pretty much tell right away. um, yeah, and that's the big thing that we do. And of course, our products are salon quality and they're clean. There's no sulfates, there's no parabens, no phthalates. So that
I
is
love
our secret that now you know.
So do you like what different types of products do you offer?
So we have a shampoo, a conditioner, a shine serum, and a styling cream. Those are our formulas. And then we also introduced a couple years ago a scalp scrubber, a hair
Hmm.
towel, and I just launched a brush, all sustainable. Our hair towel is made out of plastic bottles, recycled bottles, but it's amazing. Our scrubber is bamboo and silicone. Our hairbrush is bamboo. And funny enough, the scrubber has become our top seller. It is like, who doesn't love a good scalp massage, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my husband won't take a shower without the scrubber now. We have to travel with it everywhere. It's like
I
he
love
doesn't
that.
have it. It's like it ruins his day, you know?
I love that. I love that. Now, what really motivated you was everything that you went through, and then you kind of realized that, that this was kind of like a new journey, a new pathway to have people maybe live a healthier life when it came to beauty, to start with beauty because of all the things that you saw in your ad agencies, working with all these different products, how corrupt they were when they using the ingredients that they were using that are very harmful to people.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because a lot of clean beauty founders had an illness and that prompted them to start their brand. And I was the other way around. I had started my brand and then I got cancer a year
Oh,
later.
wow.
But luckily, I wanted the brand to be clean and it was. And I mean, because otherwise I would have been like, damn, I got to throw it all out and start over.
Yeah.
Um, no, but luckily, we had designed the brand to be clean and to be also sustainably minded and to give back to the community. We actually fund ocean research in Northeast Japan because that's where we get our hair ingredients. So we're big believers in like replenish what you take,
Yeah.
um, and give back. But definitely, you know, I was definitely a student of the clean beauty movement before my illness, but after that, I have become even more so because the amount of people who have said to me, "Oh my God, I had something too," or my aunt or my sister or my mother, or, it's just cancer affects so many people. It's hard to find somebody who has not had like an immediate relative
Yeah.
have a problem, have something. And I do wonder how much of these, forever chemicals and plastics, because, I'm a Gen Xer and I grew up, you know, as a latchkey kid, which is that's our generation's claim to fame, right? But
Yeah.
but what that means really is that I was eating, me and my two brothers, we were eating Swanson's TV dinners or Hungry Man TV dinners like 3 times a week. Okay. And those things are in plastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you used to put them in the oven, and the plastic would even kind of melt sometimes. And
Hmm.
you'd be scooping out that pudding or whatever, and I think now I'm horrified,
Yeah.
horrified because I can only imagine what's in our system. And
Yeah.
so it's hard to so when you do the research, like
Yeah.
it basically you'll read that people say that, well, it's because we can detect cancer so much better now that that's why it looks like there's so much more of it. But I don't think
Hmm.
so. I call BS on that. I think
Yeah.
I think it's all the stuff that we were doing knowingly or unknowingly to our bodies for years
Oh
is
yeah.
catching up with us. And unfortunately, that stuff, seeps into the environment and
Yes.
all the chemicals, these plants. And, there was a big GE plant in the Berkshires where I didn't live that far from
Yeah.
that, in the 70s was just, you know, spewing stuff into the water.
Right.
Uh, but that was not unusual. That's been happening all over the US. So it's part of it is you wonder like, yeah, is it something like that? Is it the chemicals? But back to where we started, which is control. you can't control something that happened in the 70s, right? So like you can't freak out about all this stuff. All you can do
Yes,
is control what you can do to yourself. And
exactly.
that's why I'm like, clean beauty is an easy one, people. Start with
Yes.
something that you can control. And when I
Hmm.
hear people go, oh, but I don't think it's going to work as good. Okay, again, BS. I have 65 brands in our collective. They are amazing. I only use those clean beauty brands, and I have for the last 5 years, and my skin has never been better.
Yeah.
They're very high performing products. And there's really no excuse. And so what I say to people when they ask, like, well, where do I start? Start with one product that's in your routine that you don't love. Say it's your cleanser, your moisturizer, trade it out.
Hmm.
Once you're like, oh yeah, this is better, it's working, I like it, then move on to the rest of your do one at a time
Yes.
because you want to make sure that you like it and that it's working for you and it's performing and it's nothing that you're allergic to or anything like that. But it's really not difficult. And before you know it, your whole beauty routine will be turned over in 6 months. I don't say to people throw everything out, even though, that is an approach, because I'm also like, we are sustainable and I don't want you to just throw stuff out
Right.
um, and add more stuff to the landfill unnecessarily. But when you finish your next product, that's an opportunity. Think of that as an opportunity to upgrade.
I agree with you. And, I think we're more aware now because of the internet, because of TV, because of all the articles that have come out and the research now. But like you were mentioning, my grandfather passed away from brain cancer. He worked in the printing press. He worked with all the poisonous inks. Then I had my uncle who had passed away. He had bladder cancer. He went into remission, and then he got stomach cancer. It was aggressive. Then it went right into his throat, and then it traveled throughout his body, and he passed away from that. And then my mother had bladder cancer. They caught it right away, and
Um,
they got rid of it right away. And then my grandmother on my other side of the family had ovarian cancer, and she beat it the first time, and then the second time they didn't catch it in time because back then they just didn't. It was Greece, it was Europe. They didn't have what they have now. So cancer has always been around. Cancer has always, been, something that we've always dealt with. And there's many reasons for it. But now we have the research, but we understand that there are ways we can prevent it by changing our lifestyle. And, like you mentioned, going using clean products, using, eating better foods, that don't have all these cancerous ingredients. When you look at the label and you want to take vitamins and supplements, make sure what you're taking is good for you, and the same goes for beauty products. I don't think people emphasize enough about beauty products. They're talking about all the time about vitamins and supplements and how you need to have good vitamins and
yeah.
supplements and always look on the label, but you don't hear a lot of people talking about beauty products, and it's just as dangerous because and sometimes I think it can be more dangerous too, because when you're putting those creams or you're rubbing shampoo into your scalp, like I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the show, it goes right into your bloodstream and then it just builds up into certain areas, and these are when problems occur. So I'm so glad that you're doing these things, and I'm so glad that you become such an advocate for clean beauty products because we need more. We definitely need more. They work just as good, they work better, and they're safer, for our bodies. And, with everything that we have to deal with on a daily basis, why put yourself at risk for something that you don't have to deal with, and all those ingredients we talked about, they really, a lot of them had ruined my hair. And, for years, I had all these different problems due to the products because I just didn't know at the time, so it's very important. And I'm really happy what you're doing. And I want to just make sure for listeners,
Mhm.
we have talked about, that you have promised 5 concrete actions. Now, what are those five concrete actions that people can start doing this week to make an improvement in their life, especially when it comes to beauty and it comes to picking out their products, not just going on and, seeing a nice color and grabbing it or, seeing shampoos and just, maybe going for the cheaper one because we're in an economy right now because prices are a little bit on the high side, especially in America. What are your five concrete actions, that people can take this week to get themselves on a healthier habit when it comes to shampoos and conditioners and
Yeah.
beauty products like that?
Okay, so let me think about this. I would say the first thing is just do a little bit of research, light research on the key ingredients to avoid. I would say sulfates, parabens, phthalates. That's the first thing. Second thing, look at your own medicine cabinet or your beauty, wherever you put your beauty products, and just assess what's in there. And just take a look at the ingredient labels and just understand which things are maybe at this end of toxic and what things are maybe more on this end. So that would be a good idea. Third, look at the expiration dates because that's another thing. Over time, some of these chemicals can degrade or they can evolve or they can change, and you really don't want to be using products that are old that are
Yeah.
getting into your skin because they can also contain mold and other things, bacteria. I would say definitely always use sunscreen. I'm sure everyone knows that by now, but please, I use a mineral sunscreen, reef safe, every day, even if it's cloudy. I'm constantly having to tell my husband and my kids to put on sunscreen because we live in the desert, Palm Springs. I already have one desert tattoo, which was my skin cancer that was here. My husband had one this year. So,
Wow.
you gotta stay on top of that.
Yeah.
And then fifth, I would say, concrete thing, I would say, talk to your friends, find out what they're doing. This is not a taboo topic by any stretch, but people don't really talk about it. I
Yeah.
feel like we talk about menopause a lot more than we talk about like what clean beauty products are using. So, um, start a dialogue with your friends, see what they're using, see what their favorites are, compare
Yeah.
notes, and before you know it, you will be on your journey to a more conscious and clean lifestyle and beauty routine.
I love that. I love that. That is great advice. Now, where can people find your products?
So we're easy to find. We're on Amazon. We're also on a bunch of other like Nordstrom.com, Walmart.com, Target.com. You can find us at lovemasami.com. That's our own site. I will say when people buy from us, we always include a sample from another brand from the Power Beauty Collab, which is a little bonus. And we have a discount code for listeners for your show, which is we usually don't do super steep discounts, but we're doing 25% with the code Stacey. So it's Stacey. There is an E in there. And if you use that code on our site, you can get 25% off of any Masami products to try it out. We also have travel sizes. So if you want to just try it and you're not sure it's going to work for you, people get very funny about their hair. They're like, oh, my hair type's different. I'm like, no, it's not. Trust me. Our products work great for curly, coily, straight. Like the key is if your hair is awesome, if you know your hair is awesome, if it's like an 11 and you're like rocking your hair, you're not going to love our products because they're not going to do anything different. If you have not great hair, which most people say they do, or your hair just is brittle or damaged or thinning, you're going to love our products. And then yeah, social, Love Masami Hair is our social handle everywhere. So Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter or X, Threads. We're on all of them.
I love love it. Now, spell MASAMI for people who don't know, they hear the word, they're like,
Yeah, yeah.
how do I spell that? They spell
Thank you
that.
for asking that because I just assumed, but yeah, you're right. It's Masami, Masami. So, yeah, Love Masami is the website and check it out. And you can always DM me if you have questions or send me a note. Find me on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find.
Right. I think this has been great, Lynn. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. I love that you had mentioned and you talked about resilience. You talked about gratitude and how, what going through cancer, how it changed your life. You talked about your passion and how, you were even starting this even before you got cancer because you saw what was going on in the industry, in the beauty industry, and you wanted to make a change. And, I think, what you're doing is amazing. I think people really need to take an emphasis because, like, as you mentioned, it affects your health. It can affect your hormones, which can affects everything in your body. It is just, using beauty products, when you're putting toxins in your body, you not only does it hurt the inside of your body, but it shows on the outside, and that's when you see the difference in your hair, the difference in your skin color. You're not glowing anymore, your skin might be getting really dry and scaly, and you're wondering why these things are happening. Well, maybe it's the beauty products you're using. And you know what? I think what you're doing is amazing. I'm so glad that you're putting products out that are actually helping people and you're getting the beauty benefits and you're also protecting your body and your well-being. So, and I just want to thank you for, being an advocate for the clean beauty products and for making a difference in our world because every person who comes on this show and talks about different things that they're doing to make a difference. We just need, one person and then another person, another person. And before you know it, in time, maybe this world will turn out to be, the ultimate world that we want it to be. But there are so many good
Yeah.
people out there, and there are so many great products out there from these great people, and you're one of them. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being you. Thank you for doing everything you're doing. And I just want to congratulate you on your recovery. And I just, it's a lot what you went through. And I just want to, just send my love and hugs to you because, it's very hard to go through cancer. And my love goes to you. And I'm so glad that, that you recovered and you're using everything you have now to make a difference in this world. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I mean, you've seen firsthand the cancer journey, so boy, you really have with what you said to all of your family. But thank you for having me, and thanks for help just letting me share my story and try to convert some more people over to clean beauty.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Thank you so much. You have been wonderful. Thank you for being on this show. I appreciate you and everything you do.
Thanks.